What's up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or, of course, if you're watching on our growing YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And Andrew, we're here for another episode of our UNC Football ISO series, going to be focusing on Tyrone Hopper in this edition of it. But before we dive into that, make sure you guys head on over to TarHeelIllustrated.com. You can sign up for just $8.33 a month, and so much of what we do is premium. So if you want to access it, whether it's our game day coverage, normal coverage, football, basketball, recruiting, whatever it may be, a lot of that stuff is premium. You got to be a member to sign up for it. So $8.33 a month will give you all the access to that. You also get access to our premium message boards, which is a great place to get insider information on kind of what's going on with recruiting in particular. So if you're interested in that, if you like what we're doing on the YouTube side of things, I guarantee you'll like what we're doing on the website, TarHeelIllustrated.com. Link is in the description below to take advantage of that. But AJ, let's dive in to Tyrone Hopper in this edition. Now, we recently recorded the Tamon Fox one. Now we're focusing on Tyrone Hopper. Very similar guys in terms of how long they've been around the program, came in the same class. Obviously, Tamon played a little bit more his freshman year. Tyrone didn't see action during his freshman year as a Tar Heel, was obviously redshirted that year and played some more games as a redshirt freshman in 2017. But just a guy that's been around the program forever. Now, Tyrone's a little bit more interesting. Hasn't played quite as much as a guy like Tamon, for instance, between some injuries with Tyrone, redshirt in his freshman year, Shoegate as well. Just a guy that hasn't seen the field as much as you might expect a guy that's been around the program too. But looking at the past couple of years in particular, going back to his junior year in 19 and senior year last year, appeared in 12 games in 2019, appeared in 12 games last year, and started in 10 of those at the outside linebacker position. And really, since Mac has come in, a guy that has played a lot and has been relied on. So obviously we could, probably sit here for 30 minutes and talk about Tyrone's career as a whole and his time at North Carolina. But I guess since you've gotten to cover him, I've covered him for the last 2 years, but since you've got to cover him since he arrived in Chapel Hill, and I'm sure you recovered his recruitment as well, what are your kind of overall thoughts on just the career and timeline that, Tyrone has had in Chapel Hill so far?
Well, patience. A lot of guys leave these days, and he's stuck it out. And he's got a degree from North Carolina, and he's getting extended education there. Yep. Played 621 snaps last year, only 1,042 in his career, so most of it was last year. That's part of the patience. Started playing as they got into his junior campaign, which was Mac's first. And he's an athletic guy. He's a strong guy. He can make plays. I think last year he had, 27 tackles, 2 sacks, 23 quarterback hurries graded by PFF, and he actually batted a couple of balls. So he's an active guy, smart dude, very smart guy, someone who they don't worry about whether Tyrone knows what to do out there. It's just a matter of physically being able to do stuff. And I think that over the course of his career, as he's learned and molded himself into a college football player, and kind of figured out where his comfort zone was, he found that with the hybrid spot under Jay Bateman. Now, one of the things that is really good about him coming back this year, and he could have gone, he's a super senior, is he gives that position depth. And he and Tamon give a guy like Des Evans a little more time to kind of immerse himself into that role as he develops his body, which Des has done, learns the playbook, which Des has done, learns the calls, and just gets himself more into position to succeed in the field. So Tyrone Hopper is all about depth. He's about having an older guy up there that knows what he's doing. The staff can trust him. I have no idea how much he's going to play this year because a lot of it depends on how much the other guys develop. I do think that they'll use that depth. So when our podcast about Tamon, I said Tamon's going to probably play a little bit less, but it'll be more efficient with a little bit less. Remember Bateman used to talk about that with Gemmel, Jeremiah Gemmel and Chaz. Well, they're going to play a little. We think Chaz at 60 snaps is better than Chaz at 75. They were so good that he's kept them on the field.
Couldn't take them out.
I don't think Hopper's in that situation. I think that Hopper will be really, really efficient for him in a 35 to 45 snap range, and there's a lot of snaps to be had. So I think that's what you can expect from him this season. And a guy that wants to win, he would love to play in the NFL. He's certainly got an NFL body, and this is an opportunity. The NFL is filled with guys who were late bloomers, if you will, later developers, if you will, and they will find you if you can play. So for Tyrone, it's just a matter of having a big year, enough that he gets invited to a camp or maybe gets drafted. I don't know. But certainly also helps Carolina win games. And that's one of the things he wants to do. Just like Tamon. These are program guys. Tamon was playing a lot, so there was no reason for him to leave. Tyrone could have gone somewhere, but he stuck around, got his degree, and he's now in position to play a lot of snaps on a team that has a chance to do some special things. And he'll be one of the reasons why they do some special things, because I think he's become a pretty reliable player.
Definitely. Yeah, he's a guy that's been around the program for, like I said, seems like forever. And he's continued to develop. Patience has been big with him. I'm glad you mentioned that, because like you said, he could have gone and left, but he stuck around. And over the last 2 years in particular, has really reaped the rewards of sticking with it, even with the new coaching staff coming in. We saw some guys leave when the new coaching staff came in. You really wouldn't have blamed Tyrone for doing so, especially when you look back to his sophomore year, only appeared in 6 games during that. So he's a guy that stuck around, waited for his opportunity, has taken advantage of it. Now, you mentioned the fact that kind of him and Tamon are a little bit unique when you analyze, okay, what's going to happen and what their role may be this year because of the depth and the guys that they have in that room. You would expect them to probably play less snaps because you've got guys like Des Evans and whatnot, so you can kind of split those reps up a little bit more and not have to rely on guys like Tyrone and Tamon to just play every snap out there. So you obviously expect him to have a prominent role. Exactly what that role is, we'll have to kind of wait and see. But I guess in your opinion, just how valuable is it to have a guy like him in the room and Tamon in the room when you consider just the amount of young guys that are in there right now? I mean, I think that's got to just be invaluable for this team in that position as a whole.
Well, they lead by example. The college graduates. I mean, yeah. It's huge. They're college graduates. They are good football players. Tamon is a highly accomplished player. Got 21.5 sacks in his career. And Tyrone's a guy that really helped last year. He had a 3-game stretch last year, BC, Virginia Tech, and Florida State, where he had 15 quarterback hurries. Wow. As graded by PFF. He's got high-end stuff at times. So the young guys, they're going to have to work. They're going to have to – you could say to any young guy in the program, you want to get on the field? You see how those guys are? You see how they don't miss a beat? You see how they study, how they prepare? You've got to be more like that if you want to get on the field. So when you have guys in your program that are lead by example players, when you have guys in your program that have been through what the younger guys are going through and can communicate, can articulate those experiences to them, that's really valuable. Yeah. Culture, chemistry, and culture. Culture is so huge. When the great Roy Williams teams, the great Coach K teams that I covered, K especially talked about how culture was not taught by the coaches. It was passed down by the older players. They taught it to the younger players. Well, Mac has a culture in his program, and it's pretty fortified, but it needs more because it's only year 3. You can't expect it to fully fortify itself in just 2.5 years. It takes guys like Tyrone Hopper and Tamon Fox to help pass down the culture, teach the culture to the young guys that come in. And their roles are going to be very important on the field. They're going to be expected to excel, to make plays, but there's other elements to what they do that's going to make this program better, not just this year, but in the years to come.
Definitely. One last question for you. I forgot who I was talking with somebody about this recently, but we were kind of talking. One of the things I've noticed with Tyrone over the years, and the guy I was talking to agreed as well, is those stretches where you make plays in games, but there was a lot of stretches and even games where you kind of forget he was out there. So consistency seems to kind of be the issue. Would you agree that consistency is probably the biggest thing that he's got to continue to work on this year if he wants to have a shot at, playing at the next level?
Well, yeah, as I just pointed out, he had 15 quarterback hurries in that 3-game stretch. He had 23 for the season. So that means in the rest of the season, he had 8. But you like to see the high-end stuff because remember when Jay Bateman, I'm a sidebar here for a second. Remember when Jay Bateman in the spring, we talked to him, he was talking about Cam Kelly. Yeah. And he said there were some games where Cam Kelly was fantastic and some games where he wasn't. He talked to him about, that's the bar you got to shoot for. We need more of that. You need to strive for more of that. So guys that are inconsistent, the one positive is they know they can play at a very high level. They just have to strive for that. I think for Tyrone, let's face it, last year was the first time he had every game, lots of reps. So even though he was older, he was still learning. Yeah. He was still adjusting. You have to learn how to prepare to play 55 snaps a week. your body, your mind, everything else. So he's been through all that now. He's older. He's come back for a reason. So you would expect greater consistency in. And if he is more consistent, instead of 35, maybe it is 45 or 50 snaps, because we don't know how consistent Dez and Collins and the other guys are going to be. So they're going to play the best players. And they would love to play the best players and divide up those reps, because remember, how many times has Mac harped on Notre Dame and A&M? The defense got tired. They wilted some. So if you have Tyrone and Tamon on the field in the fourth quarter and they've only played 38 or 40 snaps that game, they can go 15 in the fourth quarter. They got a lot of reserve in there. But if they've already played 50 and they're getting up into the mid 60s in that quarter, it's a difference. Yeah. So that's the value of depth. And that's also the value of having two older guys like this that have kind of been through it. They can adjust and adapt. And I think they'll both be fine if they have fewer snaps, because they want to win. That's why you don't come back as a super senior unless you want to win. Garrett Walston told us the same thing as well. He wants to get to the NFL, but he wants to win. He wants to be a part of something special. So very coachable guys, Tyrone and Tamon. And I think that they're huge for that room. If those guys would have left and gone on and tried to get a shot at the NFL and gone on with their lives, whatever it is they would do, either football or something else, we'd be talking about that group being the biggest question mark on the team, more so than running back, because at least with Ty Chandler, you know what he's done before. Yeah. He's been pretty successful at Tennessee on a so-so team. But that hybrid spot would be the one big question mark group, even more so than the defensive line. So the fact that these two guys are back, it's not a big question mark. I think, to me, the only question mark is going to be how many snaps a game do Tyrone and Tamon average. And I think if they're in the 40s, that's actually good for this team, because it means the other guys are playing well too. Great. And I'm not saying that they can't play 60. Tamon's already proven he can't. But I'm talking about this being a better team in the fourth quarter in 2021 than it was in 2020. And for that to happen, they need the second tier, third tier guys to get more reps. Agreed. Yeah, I think that room's in good shape now because those two guys returned, and focusing on Tyrone. I'm interested to see what kind of strides he takes this year, because you mentioned last year was a year that it was the first time he was really able to consistently play a lot of snaps and play a lot of games. So, I mean, that leap you could see another leap from Tyrone, and I even expect it. I think most of us do, to see we've seen that leap. He just needs to have more of those leaps. Yeah, more consistency. The high-end stuff, we've seen high-end moments. He just needs to have more of them. And when he's not in a high-end moment, he needs to be closer to it. This consistency is what it's all about. Exactly. Football coaches, when they put a guy on the field, they've got to be able to have trust and faith. They know what's going on, and they're not going to consistently blow it. I mean, that's pretty much what it is, right? If a guy doesn't play, it means the coaches don't trust him. You've heard them use the word trust before. And teammates will use it. You've seen linebackers in previous North Carolina teams be chase down dudes that maybe are kind of outside their so-called role because they're trying to compensate. You see offensive line does it sometimes, where you see a guy, he's going to shade over here and try to help out a guy because he doesn't trust the guard or the tackle. If there's a lot of trust going on, the team is better because guys can just focus on their role and their role only. And the coaches know, hey, I got 11 guys in the field I feel pretty good about. Yeah. The coaches live stressful lives. Yeah. And the last thing they want to do is throw some dude out there in the field that they don't trust. Yeah, exactly. Because they're just ball nerves. It's big. Yeah, it's big with this staff, especially. Nails and chewing the mouth and everything else. And with Tyrone and Tamon, you don't have to worry about that. Exactly. They may not always make the play. The coaches are pretty comfortable throwing those guys out there. Definitely because of their experience. So yeah, for sure. Looking forward to kind of seeing the new, not new Tyrone, but maybe the improvements that he makes next year, because you'd expect him to play a lot and you expect him to be a guy that's, relied on. And not only that, but just look from a leadership perspective as well. And, Tamon's in that same boat. So yeah, I think Tyrone's been around the program and got another shot to really leave his mark in Chapel Hill before he heads out and goes after the NFL. So good place to wrap this one up, AJ. You guys know the drill, as we've been preaching on, and if you follow us consistently, as we've been preaching on pretty much every video now, head on over to TarTalIllustrated.com, sign up for just $8.33 a month. It's a great time to do it ahead of the start of fall camp here in a little bit as well, and with all the recruiting stuff going on. So if you like what we do on YouTube, you'll like what we do over there. Go ahead and take advantage of that. Link is in the description below. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. You guys know what to do. Like, share,
subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell as well. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks.
Thanks.